Remember Tiny Wings? I sure didn't. While I was playing a game called Haste, which is a super fun roguelike by the way, I noticed that its movement and holding the button down to gain speed by landing perfectly on sloped hills felt familiar. And with some help from the chat, it turns out my brain repressed the memory of this little phone game I played back in 2011 and 2012. You know, I'm getting some deja vu right now. I feel like there's a game I played where you get a bunch of speed from doing like perfect stuff on slopes and things like that. Maybe I'm making it up. It's literally like a game as simple as like you just hold spacebar and like try to get perfect falls and stuff. Yeah, maybe it was like a mobile game. Yeah, Tiny Wings. Exactly correct. Thank you so much. That was gonna bother the hell out of me. I loved Tiny Wings. What great timing too, because just a few months ago, a free update dropped with a bunch of new content. Created by Andreas Illiger, Tiny Wings dominated the App Store in the early 2010s, and continues to be in the top 10 paid apps even today with its simple yet effective gameplay. You're a bird with small wings and the dream of flying. Thankfully, you nest on an island with rolling hills, and with the press of a single button, which in this case is just the touchscreen, can utilize the force of gravity in the terrain below to gain greater speed and height than it could achieve normally. Anyway, though what I just described is the gameplay of Tiny Wings, there's so much more to it than that. For starters, the bird can perform what are called great slides. While diving, if the game deems your positioning on a slope to be good enough, thankfully it's pretty lenient, pressing down and letting go at the right time on a slope will give a little notification to show that you performed one, getting some extra points to boot. For newcomers, there's even a setting to enable indicators for where the player should press the screen and when to release it for the best slides. Really useful even later on for when the islands get a bit crazy with their hills. When 3 are performed consecutively, the bird will enter fever mode, doubling their points and leaving a cool trail behind them as they fly through the air. Fever mode will persist as long as the player continues performing great slides, and goddamn is it addicting to do, especially with the timer in the bottom left that shows how long you've been in the state for. In day trip mode, Tiny Wings is an endless runner, or flyer, with the goal being to see how far you can fly before night falls. The islands you soar over are procedurally generated in both graphics and terrain, but will remain the same, or at least very similar, for a whole real-life day. Flying to the end of each one results in an island jump, giving you a little extra daylight and a deliciously intoxicating sound from the bird as it sails through the air to the next location. Seriously, I smiled every time I got to the end of an island because of this. Really encapsulates that free-feeling flight throughout the air. Oh, first try, let's go. There are also coins to collect that are sometimes used as a guide for where to start sliding on a slope, extra points for flying into the clouds above, and speed coins that give the bird a boost, which is quite helpful for later islands. In classic mode, called standard, 3 missions are given to the player to do over their runs, and completing all of them unlocks the next nest, giving a bigger score multiplier. In daily mode, the player receives up to 3 smaller scale challenges to shake things up from the standard mode that reward coins if they're completed. It also introduces these bubbles every now and then that pop you back up into the air if you land on them right. Okay, saying they're smaller scale is underselling it. The daily missions aren't too taxing, but trying to accomplish more than one of them in a single run can be really tough. There's actually 6 of them too, with the latter set being more difficult than the former. Look, I can stop whenever I want. Tiny Wings just has that perfect gameplay loop that's fantastic for a mobile game. Unless you're extremely good, a run may take 5 minutes at most. The visuals are great for how simple they are, and it just plain feels good to play. Wanting to jump right back in after the moon rises, wishing to go faster and farther the next time. Standard Day Trip is the mode I remember playing a lot. As you level up the nest, the missions to get to the next one get more and more insane. And even though the rolling hills below don't get too challenging compared to some of the other modes now, the missions themselves can be a real pain in the neck, requiring multiple runs to get them right, but are still so satisfying to achieve. There's also a mode called Flight School, where the player can race 3 other birds to their mother's nest to receive bigger and bigger fish depending on what place they get, or play the daily mode where it's a 1v1 on 3 different courses. There's also multiple sets of handcrafted islands to race on in standard mode, with each one getting progressively more difficult, of course. The AI opponents aren't the brightest, but can sneak up on you and ruin your 3-peat victory if you're not careful. Flight School has unique gimmicks to Day Trip, like springs that you can bounce off of to keep your speed while gaining height, and there are traps like water that slow you down a lot if you're not careful to avoid them. Additionally, the level design at base is more challenging, requiring fast reaction time, good planning, and a little bit of luck to stay ahead of the pack. But I can't stop there, because one of the most fascinating things to me about these older mobile games is how they've adapted to the market's current practices, and this one does a great job. There are now tons of birds that you can unlock with the coins that you collect by purchasing eggs or completing difficult tasks, and there's a whole night mode which flips the game where you try to go as far as you can before daybreak instead, with its own variation of birds to find. Though there is one egg, which costs $2.99 $2.99, the same as the price of admission for this game, which permanently doubles your coins as well as unlocks the Sunbird, which gets 2 random perks each day if you use it. These perks apply in every mode except for Standard Day Trip, probably because it's the mode that's been in the game since day 1 and its challenges weren't adjusted for the perk system. The other birds you can unlock have perks as well and keep the same ones forever, whether it be something like getting a small bit of height from doing a cloud touch or getting a small speed boost from being in fever mode. And as far as I can tell, it's the only in-app purchase Tiny Wings provides. Having the player pay a small fee to double the in-game currency is a practice I've seen in other mobile games as well, and it's tastefully implemented here. It's not like the coins are drip-fed to you without the upgrade, especially if you go for the daily mission bonuses. With the game being over 10 years old, it makes sense to add this for folks who are coming back to it for those fond memories and want to continue supporting the developer, which of course I did. The Sunbird's also got some special flair, having glowing antennae and sparkling along with a unique fever mode trail. Yeah, it's worth it. The game was made in a different time, where the goal was to actually make a game, whether it was for a mobile device or not, without any of the current tactics other mobile games find themselves doing that take precedence over making something that folks can actually enjoy. I'm thrilled to say that Tiny Wings is just as fun as it was back then, and now has awesome new content to supplement the already great standard gameplay loop. I'm really glad to have been reminded of its existence. It's got a nice spot nestled in the corner of my home screen, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Oh, come on! Shout out to the Stelmo crew that supports what I do through Twitch subs. I appreciate the hell out of it. And big thanks once again to Andreas for making Tiny Wings. It's a super fun game, and I'm so happy to have done this little video covering it. And of course, thanks to you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Yoo-hoo!